Hello, hello, it's Amy from Seriously Sweet and Cookie Snack Attack. How is everybody tonight? I am sharing it over to the Cookie Snack Attack group so that folks there will see it. And the text should go out any second. It was pre-programmed today. So I don't see mine yet, so I'm going to double check that too. Just give everybody a moment or two to get here so that we don't have to repeat tonight. Let's see. I'm going to type a live now. All right. As you guys come on, if you'll say hello in the comments, and then if somebody will pop over to Cookie Snack Attack and make sure we are live in that group as well. We don't want to miss anyone there. Let's see. It looks, oh, you know what? It looks like I set this to 7:05. So how about this? Let me just send, let me edit the time really quick. And we will be all set. That way we'll have a few more people with us for tonight. How is everybody? Did you end up having a good day? Mine has definitely been eventful. Let's see, I think that's working too. All right, I have the time edited, although it only saved us a minute. All right, my alert just came through. All right, we're good to go, guys. How are you? So if you have not signed up for text alerts before our live streams, you can text the word live stream, all one word, all capital letters, to the phone number 540-870-0726. And that will put you in our text service so that you will get alerts before our live streams or any special events that we do. Also, please check this one out really quickly. I'm going to change the ticker at the bottom of the screen. So read this one. If you are going to be at CookieCon in Dallas this year, please text the word CookieCon, all capital letters, all one word. CookieCon, all one word, all capital letters, to the same phone number, 540-870-0726, in its own text. And it will put you into the CookieCon group so you can stay in touch with us when we are in Dallas. Now, don't worry if you're not going to be in Dallas. I'm going to go ahead and take that off, okay? So you can just come back and refer to the beginning of the video. If you are not going to be in Dallas, please don't worry, because I will be videoing as much as possible. All right, let's take the live streaming down. Hello, hello. How is everyone tonight? Let's see who's here with us. All right. Hello, Jennifer. Hey, hey, what do you say? It's my favorite thing that Jen has told me so far. I love that. Kelly, hello. Hi, Myra. Oh, good. CSA up and running. Awesome. Hello, Kirsten. How are you? Hi, Barbie. How are you? Let's see. Somebody answer. Kirsten, my lips are moving. Tell me if you can hear me. Let's see. Hi, Christy. How are you doing? Oh, okay. You're there. Good. You said never mind, so it must be working. Hello, Miss Becky. Let's see. Teresa's here. Lorraine made it tonight. Hello, hello. Hi, Camille. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Kat. Hi, Sharon. How is everybody? So I think I've shot like 5 videos today. I don't know. It's been a lot. But then I have some items that I have to have on Thursday in order to complete an order for Friday morning pickup. And I had to go to the store to get the delivery this evening because the company that was bringing the items could only bring them to me tonight or Friday afternoon. And so that was too late. So I had to give up one of our live streams in order to go do what I needed to do at the store. But let me tell you what's great about that. I was going to do a Timbo box reveal this afternoon, and I'm so glad that I didn't do it because I ordered a box to use as a giveaway for what we're going to do at Christmas time. I've been trying to purchase one slightly more expensive item each month since we started live streaming. So we should have a good selection. I just noticed my whole hair is falling back and it looks really flat, but I promise you it's all my curls are still there. Hey Trisha, how are you? So I wanted to have some more expensive gift items to give away. So anyway, I was going to do this real because I thought this was my box, but this box that that I have, I believe, is actually the box for me to use for a giveaway, because I had told them I was going to use one for a giveaway in the group. So I'm going to wait until the second box arrives, because I'm not sure if I have the first box or the second box. I don't know which one I have in my hands right now, because the shipping date wasn't exactly the same. So I'm going to hold off on the Timbo box reveal, because when we do that, I want you to know what's in there, but that's actually a box reveal for something that's going to be given away in November. So remember the really cool artist brushes that we ordered in? The brushes, what am I trying to tell you? The ones that look, where are mine? That would be, no, I got something on top of my stand. So anyway, the ones that look like baking equipment, there's a spoon, a spatula, a knife, and a whisk, you know, on top of the brushes. I was able to use a coupon code and I got one extra set of those. So we are also going to have a set of those brushes to give away as one of our holiday prizes this year. So how fun is that? Now, Sally O.L., Sally O.L., Sally O. You, okay, I'll come back to you. Thank you for, anyway, sorry, let me just rechange my whole thing of thought. Because it needs to be done in a different group. So if you purchase the mermaid class and you are in the mermaid group, immediately following this cookie snack attack live stream, you're going to want to tune in for a 5-minute announcement in the mermaid class. So if you took my mermaid class and you're in that group, you had a deadline that you had to meet by Monday. And you guys will want to tune in right after we finish up our cookies tonight. But I promise you, I'm tired. My voice is tired, rather. It's not going to be long. So definitely tune in if you participated in that class. And if you participated in, well, you need to tune in if you participated in the class, because I have some special information for you. But if you want to hear who won the cookie posting contest for the cookies that look like our class cookies, and you want to hear who won the level up, please tune in tonight, because I'm getting that announcement done this week too. All right, so earlier today we talked about that we needed a thick consistency, which is like 30 seconds or 35 second even. We needed a gold because we're making a sunflower, and we needed a green. I've chosen a muted green instead of a super bright green. I'm staying away from the really bright green until we hit Christmas time, and then I'll be using a lot of that, not a bright green, but an emerald green. I wanted a more muted green because I may want to go back tomorrow and do a little painting or dry dusting on my leaves. So we've got gold and green for the sunflower in a thick consistency, a paste. And then, hey Sally, my Sally Newton is here too. Hey Sally. Sally O.L. is here and Sally Newton is here. So anybody that took the mermaid class, don't forget to tune in to the mermaid group after this is over. So also for our sunflower, we needed a flood consistency brown. And I told you that I was going to show you tonight how to do your sunflower so that you could incorporate something fast. If you're doing a lot of these, we're going to use black nonpareils to make that cool textured center on our sunflowers. Lots of different ways to do the centers on sunflowers. So what I'm going to show you is something that you can do that would do a lot of cookies really quickly, but you certainly can flip it and make it take more time. You can hand sculpt some fondant or modeling chocolate for the center. That's going to be up to you. I'm just going to show you one way tonight with this. And then Sally Newton, you're hilarious. So I'm going to show you a cookie with 3 sunflowers on it, and then I'm going to show you a cookie with 1 big sunflower, and we're going to do that first. This is our day 2, part 2 of Fall Days Fright Nights. And so we're going to start with the Fall Days cookie, which would be using this cookie cutter to create sunflower, right, for the Fall Days part. And then we're going to use our third cookie, and we are going to do a wet on wet technique to create a spider web. Now, if you have airbrushing, you can just airbrush this, and I'll talk to you about how to do that if you would rather do airbrushing. But tonight I'm going to show you how to create a spider web with a wet on wet technique, and then we're going to sculpt a spooky spider. If you do not want a spider because you are truly afraid of spiders and they're not your thing and you don't want to learn how to make one of these, then make a bat. Everybody can make a bat, right? And you can give it a cute little face. So you have that information from the last video where we did our Fright night of our cave scene where the bats were flying out. So you could put a bat on this cookie, and maybe you could put a candy spider or something, right? At Walmart, they have, I'm not sure where they're at right now, but you know, they have these boxes of the little candy pieces. Like, let me show you this, for instance, because I found this one when I was in Walmart last week. By the way, did I tell you that I have a lot of groceries delivered these days? And I love it because I'm saving so much money because I don't do this kind of stuff. I don't wander around and find something and go, ooh, that would be so much fun. Let me grab that. It's not like I buy stuff that I don't use. I will use it, but I need to save some money for CookieCon. Let's be real about this. I've got to get things to bring back to show you. So let me show you in the kit that's out. This was $3. In that kit, there are some cute candy spiders. They're purple, right? They won't give you nightmares. There's cute bats in here if you want to do little, these are bigger bats than they had last year. Can you see that? And really cute. There's ghosts, several shapes of ghosts. There's Boo in different neon colors, and there's these cool pumpkins that you could draw on to them to make a jack-o'-lantern if you wanted to, okay? Yeah, mine just got these, Harriet, which I find really odd because normally my Walmart has this stuff like months ahead of the holiday, but mine just put these out this week. I find that very odd, but maybe there's something in their supply chain too. Okay, so let's start with our sunflower. And I had asked you if you had the large cake tip. This is a number 70, and it has that special split at the top to use for sunflower petals. I said if you had this, use this, but if not, I'm going to show you how to cut the bag similar. It's not going to be exactly the same because a tipless bag is not going to be able to hold side cuts and a center cut and then still give you that line. So I'll show you how to cut a regular leaf tip, and you can make do with that. But if you have this, this is really great for sunflowers. Okay, and then I also said if you have it, let's use a tip 352, which is the one I call a chicken beak. Do you see how that is, like a V in the bag, a chicken beak? And I'll show you how to do this, okay? All right, so I'm going to cut the bag if I were going to pipe out of it like a tipless bag, but then I'm going to whack it off so I can use this as a sleeve. And then look, Sally-O, I will be using my little scribe tonight. I have to remember to take that little point cover off. So let's start with our yellow guys. Now, when I cut the bag like this, I find that I get a little bit more support from the bag if I go ahead and leave the seam on the side. When I cut for a rounded point, I usually flip it over, seam to the ceiling, flatten it, cut the circle. I tend to get a better cut for the circle. I don't know why, it just seems like it does better. But when I'm cutting a tip like this, I usually turn it to the side. So let me draw on here first with a black marker, an edible ink marker, so it won't affect anything coming out of the bag, because I just want you to see basically what we're cutting. Let me put this up here beside it since I have it already loaded in the bag. We're basically going to cut that. So if you hold a tip up next to the bag, we're going to cut that same V out of this bag. Okay, because we're going to try to get it similar. Now remember, really, if you have this tip, you're going to get a lot more detail. And you can see that that's a very different cut, and you're going to get the center line. And I had told you I wanted you to do that because I wanted you to start practicing to get ready for Christmas and some of the cool poinsettias that we're going to be doing, okay? So we're going to cut both of these tipless just so you can, sorry, both of them as a tipless bag cut to the leaf tip just so you can see it. Then I'm going to whack it off so I can drop it in the bag, okay? So let's go ahead and do that, and then I'll get these plastic bits out of the way. And I'm going to show you on a paper towel what this looks like if you do the piping straight out of this bag before I put it into the tip. So I'll show you a side-by-side comparison. A lot of people don't like to use tips, but that's more about cleaning up than it is about actually using them. So you'll just have to make the decision whether the extra effort in this case is worth it or not, okay? So let's do our yellow first. Now we're going to turn it like a bird is pecking, okay? So turn it sideways. And then, do you see how we get that beautiful? That's with a tipless bag, and we can get the nice ridges if your icing is thick enough. So really important that the consistency of your icing is right. And let me show you a little leaf, okay? See with the green, you can get a leaf out of that. All right, so I'm going to leave those. I'm going to move this over. Let's go ahead and cut the tip off this bag. That's literally, I'm going to do it on top of these gloves. I'm literally just going to cut this over enough that when I slip it into the sleeve with the tip, that it does not obstruct the icing coming out of the tip. We just want to make sure we don't obstruct that, okay? Because that will put more ridges, and we don't want more ridges. That's some good icing tonight. By the way, this is my icing that I made with tonic water. So later tonight around 9 or so, I'll come in here, do the black light. Once it's good and dark in here and no light leaks, I'll do the black light and take photos of what we're working on tonight, okay? So now let me show you, actually let me bag them both first so that I don't get my hand in any icing. So we've got them both bagged. You see how my bag, let me show you on camera before it gets messy. See how it just slips in there? That way I could pull this color in and out several times and keep using this outer sleeve, okay? So let's do the green one first. Excuse me. So next to this leaf, you see what you can get? Okay, now the chicken beak, look. To me, very similar. I see no reason to put the extra effort into this unless you're not comfortable with cutting that bag in the proper way. But look at the difference in the sunflower. You see how it can be made to look like a sunflower petal, but really it looks like a leaf. If it's next to it, you can tell what it is. But watch this. Do you see the difference in those two things? The difference that tip has and how it gives you a vein in the center. And it's a cake-sized tip. So do you see how much bigger my petal is by using this tip? So you guys are going to have to decide whether cleaning up the one tip or not is worth it for you. And you see how all of these things that I piped are holding their shape, right? They're holding perfectly. Nothing's running together. It's not melting together. All right, so let's get on our sunflower first. Hopefully I won't put my hand in anything. And let me just give you a rough idea of what we're going to be doing. Let's see, when I cut bags to go inside tips, I end up with it coming back up into the outside bag. That means it's not seated down in the tip far enough. So you've either cut it too far, so that it's not, the tip of the tipless bag is not going down in there where the metal part is acting like a sleeve, like a coupler. So just practice again. And what I would do to combat that, Jen, is I would lay your tip up next to the bag you're going to cut off, and I'd cut it right about here, because you see if I cut back here, I have no obstruction coming out the side. So just hold this up next to it, like the pointy part of the tipless bag next to the pointy part of this, and cut it back that far, and that way this much of it is down in the tip. Okay. That's usually what causes that. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this. We're going to do sunflowers on here, but tonight I want to do 3. I want to do one here, one here, one here. If I were doing a lot of these cookies, I would be doing my yellow petals first, adding my green leaves, letting that dry completely overnight. Then I would come back and do my center. But we're doing a live tonight, so I need to reverse the order a little bit for you. So let's go ahead and get on that. We're going to use our sprinkle return tray because we're going to be using the black nonpareils. I'm going to just do a basic opening, seam to the ceiling, flatten it out. I'm going to cut that off at about equivalent to a number 3 icing tip. And we're going to go ahead and do our centers first, okay? Sharon, the tip that I'm using for the sunflower leaf, what did I post up there? It's a 352. Okay, so let's do our centers first. And again, I would be doing this in a different order if it weren't for the live. I would be doing this part last, and I would let my petals and I would be letting my petals and my leaves dry overnight so that when I candy coated it, it wouldn't stick to those, okay? This is our day 2, part 2, Fall Days Fright Night. This is the Spiderweb Sunflower Cookie Cutter. Now, guys, also, if you fall in love with this particular technique, you can also make a spider just like this. I'm going to tell you how to sculpt one and show you how to sculpt one tonight in case you're kind of getting into that. But if you would actually rather just make a spider like this, you can do that. But again, you have to let your wet on wet technique spider web dry overnight so that you can come back the next day. So these are going to be our 3 centers. And do you see what I mean about having the brown icing under the black nonpareils, how it immediately gives it a different dimension, right? And shadowing. I see I have a big gap over here. So let's put just a few over here before it sets up too much. All right, I think that looks good. Now, while I have this out, I'm going to go ahead and do the center on this large one, and I'm going to do a large sunflower center. I love this color brown icing. It's almost like a putty color. Love it. So I'm doing a large center for our single sunflower. That's what's great about this cutter in particular, because you're going to be able to do the nice leaves around the edge. But the other thing that's great is that you can do multi sunflowers on it or singles. All right, so we have our large center one, okay? Let me set that down, and let's go ahead and see if, without bouncing these all over the room, we can use our little bead, sprinkle return funnel bit there. This is actually a bead tray, and it's been linked on several of your supply lists in the past. There weren't that many things to do for tonight, so I did not create a separate supply list for you. I just told you everything you needed this morning in the video, and then Jen typed it out for me over in the comments while we were going through it. So that's all you need tonight for candy bits for the sunflower cookie and the tray. Hey, Barbara, how are you? My cookies are normally 3/8 inch to 1/4 inch. So it just depends on, and obviously if I'm doing a showpiece cookie, I always cut those thicker and I bake them longer. And because I'm going to be coloring, I'm going to be doing a lot of airbrushing on them. I want them to hold up well. I don't want them to break, right? Especially if I'm doing like a 3D piece or something. I bake those so they're a little firmer. There's nothing worse than to be working on a fancy showpiece cookie and not bake your dough long enough or not have it thick enough, and then you start doing a lot of airbrushing, or you start adding a lot of wet, like flood icing, heavy flood icing to the cookie, and then and it's probably going to get noisy because I just heard my husband pull up. So when he comes in, the alarms, the little alarms, the 4-legged ones are going to go off. So if they do, just give me, I won't talk for a second. Let me just give him a second to get them out of the house and it'll calm down. But, you know, they're just puppies. They like to tell their parents hello when they get home. So I think that's probably that question. Okay, now what I want to do next is I want to switch over to my leaves. And because I have a very specific shape on this cookie, also, by the way, baby, you want to, you can take them if you want. It's up to you. If you want to, you can place your leaves because we have a very specific shape. And you can do this on any Spiderweb cookie cutter, okay? This one was my specific design for doing what we're going to do tonight. So I like to do my leaves on top of the biggest areas. And I know that I'm doing 3 sunflowers, right? So I want to make sure I have a minimum of 3 leaves. So for my biggest sunflower leaves, I want to put them underneath where all of my upper petals. I'll tell Brian hello when he comes back in, Jen. Thank you guys for being so nice. Brian, everyone's saying hello to you. Uh-huh, they're in here. I told them you were home. You can come say hi. Oh, they can see you right there.
Where?
See, like
that. Got the little side view there. Hello, boys and girls. How's everybody?
I think I have all ladies tonight. I don't think we have any gents on. If we have, no one has said hello yet.
Oh, we're ladies. Oh, all right.
Okay. Let's see. All right.
Yeah, boys and girls, like, you know, hello, boys and girls.
All right. So we're going to do our sunflower. Sharon saying hello too. We're going to do our sunflower petals, and we're going to do these in 2 rows. So what we'll do at the end, if we have any gaps on the cookies, thanks, babe. If we have any gaps on the cookies, we'll come back and fill in some additional sunflower leaves, but we'll do that just where we want to fill in gaps, okay? So what we're going to do is start on the outer edges, and we want to set the tip down and just give a lot of pressure because we want some wider leaves for the lower level, okay? This one's kind of at an angle, and I'm kind of shooting it upward a little bit. And I'm doing these so they're the back ones. The back petals on the sunflower are always a little bigger. On minis like this, you don't really have room to get 5 petals in, and 3 is not quite enough. So I'll leave that. Do you need me? I don't think there's room, but if there is, you can. It's up to you. It just got here a little bit ago. So normally I would be doing 3, but since these are the back petals, you're not really going to notice that I'm doing 4. You know, I don't like to work in even numbers on these typically. So do you see what I'm doing? I'm just coming up around. That's why we made that center a little oversized. And if you want to work with smaller tips to create these minis, you can. I just find they're really pretty like this. So I'm just getting all the way up next to that. I've got really good stiff icing, so it's standing up if I want to make petals stand up. So that is my lower level of petals, okay? Now what I'm going to do is come back and more upright, more perpendicular to the center. I'm going to pipe a bunch of petals in between these petals. And I'm not going to be putting as much pressure on my petals because I don't want them to spread out as far. All right, I'm having to do it this way instead of on a turntable because I want you to see, I want you to be able to see the tip of the bag and the angle of the cookie. Now, I can't stress to you enough how important it is that your icing is the right consistency to get these beautiful petals. You see that? Okay. Now, I know someone is going to say something to me. Elizabeth, 26 years on September 23rd. We just had our 25th anniversary last year. And so I made those big, do you guys remember the photo? I made him go spend the whole day on the mountain with me, and we went all over the place, all over Culpeper, all over on Skyline Drive, and we took photographs. We took 25 pictures using those big silver numbers that I made. They were silver glittered numbers that said 25. Okay, so I was going to toss them, but then I realized I turned 52 next year in April, so I'm keeping them for a photo when I turn 52, and then I'll pitch them. So I got to make 2 uses out of that. I feel like my money went further if I do that. All right, so I got an odd number of petals at the center, which is more eye-pleasing to me. Okay, so now I'm going to come back and do the same thing on here. And I know that somebody's going to jump on and say, oh, you make that so easy. I can't do that. You can do it. You just have to get your icing consistency right. And it requires more than 1 attempt. Don't be beaten by giving up after 1 attempt, okay? That's not a fair try of any tutorial or any technique. You see how pretty that looks? Now let me flip it. Hopefully I won't drop it. You see how we're getting a lot of texture, so it looks visually pleasing from the top and the sides. So this is a great display cookie. So let's come finish the center on this one. And then I'm going to show you one other thing I like to do on a cookie where I do multiples like this. I'm so worried I'm going to send this cookie sailing. I'm trying to be so careful so that if I would be normally doing this on a turntable, I'd just keep spinning it. And my turntable, I usually put one of those little genie mats like I showed you earlier because I like to make sure my cookie doesn't skid off. All right, so look at our 3 mini sunflowers. Aren't those pretty? This is another Anomi, I believe is how you pronounce it, and they're black and white flowers. Anomis are beautiful done this way. This is a very similar technique to for poinsettias. So now what I want to do, you guys, is I want to make it look like there's another sunflower here, but I don't want to have to do another center because I want the 3 heavy centers, that 3 bits of, yes, that's the right name, Jen. The 3 heavy centers and the beading to be just on those 3. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scoot under this and like have a big petal coming out where it doesn't necessarily look like it's part of this flower, but it looks like there's another guy nested underneath there. Okay. And then I'm going to grab my green icing, purging the tip off to the side. And I'm just going to go back and now watch this carefully. This doesn't have to be large. I'm going to go right in here in between these petals. It's a different tip. And I'm going to do an upright tip in there. Can you see that? I'm going to do upright leaf. I'm going to come over here on this point, and I'm going to add just the tiniest little accent. I don't know if you noticed or not, but what that does is it gives us 3, gives us that odd number around that one. Then we need to come over here and do the same thing because we need to make sure we have 3 around this as well, right? So let's get in here and do a little small leaf. Can you guys see that okay? And the bouncing of the bag is going to give you those ridges if you want even more detail on your leaves. Now, 2 things. For me, I really like to have some of the naked cookie showing so that people actually know it's a cookie and not like a little clay sculpted piece or something. But if that's the first thing. But 2, if you would rather not have it that way. Well, it is though, Jen, my fingers got dyed because a bottle top exploded on me earlier. I don't know. I try to keep the color off for the videos, but it just circles back to me. So anyway, I like to have it naked so it has like a border and you can tell that it is a cookie. But some people don't like that. If you don't like that, a super easy thing that you can do that will not take a lot of icing, that will disguise the cookie, so to speak. Take some of your thick icing and a scraper and just scrape or paint some icing about 1 inch in on the cookie to the outside edges, and that will color it without adding too much icing to the cookie because look, we have a lot of icing. We have a lot of icing added here, but you can see the detail we got with our flowers, okay? So this is a multi-sunflower on the day 2, part 2 of Fall Days Fright Nights cookies. So let me slide this one over to the side. I'll bring them all back in at the end and show them to you. Let's go ahead and do this large one. Now, this one for me is fun because, oh, blue would be great, Jen, if you wanted to do a blue background. But that's another color you have to mix up, and you guys always want me to keep that to a minimum. And 3 is something I learned in gardening for visual pleasing layouts to shapes. When you're creating things, just that odd number is something people's eyes are drawn to. You can do it however you want to do it. I'm not OCD about it. It's just something I learned way, way back in 6th grade or 7th grade art classes. Okay, so on this cookie, I want as big of a leaf underneath as I can get, and I want it to come off the cookie because we're doing a large sunflower. So I'm going to put 3 super huge leaves and see however thick my icing is. Oops, see, I can only go about 1/4 inch off and then it breaks. So I'm building a base, a lot of pressure before I start moving, because what that's doing, what I like about that is, can you see how thick it makes my flower? So that's going to give me an underlift to my sunflower petals. So I'm actually going to end up with more dimension, my petals, because they'll be lifted by this underleaf. All right, so I'm going to start with just these 3. And these are fast cookies. I'm going very slow to give you guys time to adjust to what I'm doing and to take notes. But these are cookies that I can pipe super fast now. So you could too. A little bit of practice, as long as your icing's ready to roll, you would be in great shape. All right, so I'm going to put down some bottom petals. I'm just coming into the center here, joining up right around there. And because I want it to look like that center looks like on an actual sunflower, you know how it's kind of sunken back in the cookie, I'm actually letting it touch and then pushing some icing up and over. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but that's how I'm getting that beautiful petal look up next to the cookie versus just laying it down and piping. Do you see the difference of this and then pushing back like you'd create a shell border? Can you see the difference? It's not a huge difference, but it is a noticeable difference. If you're doing a lot of cookies, people will notice that just that little extra step there. So let's go ahead and finish our large petals. I hear popcorn in the microwave, which means all of the alarms are going to leave the doorway and head to their dad in a minute. They love popcorn. All right, now I want to go back and do my second row. I position my second row of flowers to be in between where these petals are, where they join. And I like for it to be more perpendicular to the flower. But again, you got to get your icing just right to accomplish that, okay? Make sure you can see how I'm doing this. Another thing I love to do with sunflowers is to pipe these petals over parchment that's propped up, like say over a rolling pin or a fondant roller, and let it dry, and then go back and add them as if they were royal icing transfers. So if I have a particular design I'm doing and I need 1 or 2 leaves to be super specific on the cookie, that's how I get away with doing that. I just pipe them like they're transfers, let them dry, and then I go back and add them. But you see how pretty that is, this big full cookie. All right, so let's go into these areas. Just add just a little bit. I'm going under the under petals to make it look like there's another flower under there. And if you have an area where you think it will hold, your icing's doing well, and you want to add another petal and you want it to be a little more full, this is where you would do that right now before everything's too set up, okay? All right. So let me turn this sideways. So far I'm doing good, guys. Isn't that a beautiful sunflower? So you see, we've got a lot of nice dimension with our leaves and our petals. So this is your, I'll take a picture and put all of this back up. Tomorrow I'm going to try to update all the icons on the videos, so it'll help you guys find them. But you can see just how much detail you can get, okay? And also, thank you. There's no diamond dust on this one. You could work it in. My suggestion would be green diamond dust on top of the petals before you do any of the rest, but that's very hard for me to do tonight in the live. I did think about it, but then it would have gotten on the center of the sunflower, and a sunflower is going to be really muted, so it doesn't really make sense to work that in to the petals or to the center part. It made more sense to work in the candy bits for you so you could see the texture that you can get and the shadowing by doing a lighter color under your black nonpareils. Let's see, any airbrushing, more color in the middle? You certainly can. If you're good with your airbrush, you can add to the centers. I will probably let these dry and do dry dusting and deepen the shadowing around the center where the flower petals join the center and up the veins of the flowers, and then do a little dry brushing on the leaves. So these have to dry for 24 hours before I can do anything else to these. But these are your beautiful sunflowers. If you have not ordered the cutters for the Fright Night, Fall Days Fright Night set from Dots and Bows, you can do this cookie on basically anything that'll hold a floral. But if you need help with spacing, sketching, drawing, the way things are laid out on a cookie, a Spiderweb or a sunburst cutter work the best for new people to try to work these in, because it's just more pleasing to the eye for you when you're laying it out if you don't want to draw or sketch on every cookie, okay? So just a couple hints for you. By the way, this is lemon flavored icing, and it smells incredible. Like, it's so hard not to just try some more of it. I tried it. I always taste the littlest bit when I make it, but it's so hard to not. Lemon is like a killer weakness for me, like raspberry flavored cookies with lemon icing. That is like, I can't leave those around because I'll want to eat those. And I definitely taste enough of my own product. Okay, so for dry dusting, Becky, I would use a darker yellow. So I literally sometimes just go into my pink toolbox. Thank you to the giver of the pink toolbox. I go into my pink toolbox, and once my cookie's dry, I literally hold it up because my colors are organized Roy G. Biv, right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. They're laid out like that as best as I can put them. And I will look for something that's a couple shades darker. If I'm dry dusting, I usually am dry dusting a darker color. If I'm going to paint, it can pretty much be any color, but a darker color is still going to work better, right? A darker color in that same color group. So I'll be looking for a dark yellow. I don't want to do, for instance, a sunflower yellow. I think that's the name of it, is sunflower, is too light. Daisy is too light. So I'll be going for something more gold. And frankly, guys, I made these sunflowers last year for a wedding, and I did all of my highlighting on the petals and on the vein. I did all of that with a very loose fan brush, very loose brush strokes, and I did it in the edible metallic gold, and they were stunning, stunning, stunning cookies. So another idea for you that have that already. All right, so let's get on to the Fright Night part of day 2, part 2, okay? So let's pull in our cookie. We're going to do a wet on wet technique using black and white icing. I think I've told you this before, but when I'm doing cookies like this and I really need that black, there's a couple of ways that you can kind of, I don't want to say cheat because it's not truly cheating, but it's a way to make it look like something when it isn't exactly that. So let's talk about that. If I don't want a lot of black icing on the cookie, hey Janie, because it's going to be a wedding or a big birthday party or like an over the hill theme or something, and I'm worried about that black icing staining lips, tongue, teeth, right, if that's a consideration. So we use a lot of black icing at Halloween, right? But if I know it's for a special event or something, then I always try to, first of all, scale back on the level and intensity of the black, because truly most cookies, if you get to a dark gray is going to visually read just like black. Like they're going to be able to identify the item that you drew or iced or piped or the background color. So a couple of things. If you really want that dark black and you just really have to have it, but you don't want a lot on the cookie, then what I would do is, of course, make your icing a couple of days ahead, let it develop, re-stir it, rebag it so that you make sure that that there's no loose liquid in your icing, right? You don't want any big pockets of black gel coming out through there or black water puddles. But then what you can do is you can just rough ice your cookie and then use a paintbrush or a scraper and lay down the black color on the cookie so that it stains the cookie. Okay, so you can do that. Then you can come back and actually pipe a 3D spider web on here. But I just really like doing wet on wet technique with true black stencil icing, stain the same as using gel color. I'm not sure what that means. Are you talking about like that new product from Cookie Countess? Because I haven't tried mine yet. I have it, but I have not tried it yet. So I can't answer that if that's what it is. But I like doing this wet on wet technique and using a very dark gray and using the white. So again, I'm trimming my bag tips to be about a 2 or a 3 because I'm not doing fine lettering detail. So the popcorn is out of the microwave, and I just saw all the little faces leave my doorway. They're no longer interested in what's happening in my room. So I want to do my my spider web in white. I want my web to be white. Now, I have seen this design, well, not my design, but I have seen this spider webs flipped where they do the web in black and the cookie in white. People still identify that that's a spider web. So if that's your way to get around using a lot of black icing, that works too. But what I'm going to do is just go close to the edge and put down an outline. Okay, all the way around. I'm being a little careful right now, but in a minute, I'm going to go back and flood this. When I go to flood it, because I'm using the same bag for outlining and flooding, when I go back to flood it, I am going to increase the size of the tip just a little bit. If I were doing like say 12 or 24 of these, I would put down, to save myself time and for the pressure on my hand so I don't blow my hand out, this muscle that I have trouble with here, I would do the outline on all of the cookies. I'd go back, trim the tip so the tip was a little bit wider, and that way my flooding would go faster. Plus, it would give that outline area time to dry up a little bit so that when I go back and add the white, I wouldn't have any problem with that white pushing the black or the gray off the cookie. All right, so here we go. And this is such beautiful icing. Hey, guess what? I don't know if I told you or not. It's not going to, can't say that for sure, but I don't, it's in the Christmas, in both the Christmas boxes, I secured you guys sample of my favorite meringue powder. For the limited edition Christmas box and the Christmas box, you're going to get to try a brand of meringue powder called Genie's Dream. You're also in both of those boxes, I believe it was in the budget to put Thingamagenies, which is those cute pink scribes and cookie scrapers that I use all the time. Those are also going to be in both of the Christmas boxes, the limited edition and the regular box. And then in your Halloween box, you're going to be getting the mini round silicone mat that you can use on your existing turntable or on the turntable that's going to come in your Halloween box. All right, I have a little bit on me. So let's just smooth this out a little. On a spider web, you guys, it can be rough. If you don't feel like taking the time to shake the cookies, don't shake the cookies. But I want a nice picture when we're done, since this is the one we're going to post on the permanent video. I've already trimmed out the tip on the white. Now, you do not have to do this way. I'm going to tell you how you can do this, and I'm going to show you how I like to do it. You find a method that works for you. Practice on parchment first, because if you practice on a clean piece of parchment that you haven't used for anything else, you can practice the technique of creating the wet on wet spider web, and then you can use a spatula, scrape it up, put it into the bowl, and turn it all back into black icing so you haven't wasted anything. Okay, if you want to, just pipe wet on wet and go with the edges of the spider web. This cookie cutter lends itself to that. You can certainly do that. I prefer how it looks when you drag the scribe through it. So I'm going to be putting circles on my cookie. So watch what I mean by that. Let's get the tip of the bag purged. I'm going to just be putting a large oval as close to the edge as I can get. See, it doesn't look anything like a spider web yet. So I'm going to be putting down about 5 independent ovals because I don't want them to run together. And you see I'm using a very small tip on the bag, so it's not actually adding a ton of icing to my cookie. See that? And do you see that I'm also off-centering where these areas join so that I don't end up with a row of what looks like extra icing where it comes together right there? All right, so we're going to see if we can get to 5. Okay. Good. You see what I'm doing? Okay, now you do need to have a paper towel handy for this because you're going to want to clean the scribe in between each of these things, and I'm going to be using my new scribe. Okay. Let's slide this over here. Let's get this over here so it's out of the way. Okay, now I'm going to start where the points are, and I'm going to go down into the icing, and I'm going to pull to the center. I'm going to lift up and wipe. I'm going to go on the other side where the point is, and I'm going to pull into the center. And do you see what it's doing? It's pulling the lines inward. Same thing here. Pulling into that same center point that I picked. I'm going to get on the other side, and from each of those sharp points on your cookie cutter, you're going to pull into the center. I am not touching all the way down and scraping along the cookie because I want this to heal back up. Okay. Now, this is also, by the way, looking at this, I just want you to see it. I hope you can see it. This is how people do flowers, tropical flowers in the summertime, using neon colors as a base and then white. This is how some people do a fast wet on wet technique for hibiscus flowers, or something that looks like Hawaiian tropic flowers. You can do that. All right, now what we need to do is we need to come into the centers here, and we need to pull this in. And do you see that I'm pulling to the center from the outside edge, and that's pulling my pieces down? Okay. I like it this way because it gives me the directional movement that I want. Now, this is going to get covered up, so don't worry if you just wind up with straight gray in the center. Just give it a little jostle with the scribe. Okay, now I'm going to bring this back. I would normally wait and let this crust over, okay? I would normally wait. But we are on a live and we're already 50 minutes in, so we're not going to wait because we still have to sculpt our cool spider, which, by the way, I saved the spider to the end in case you're freaked out by spiders and you don't want to stay in for the last part of the video. I did that for you. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the outer edge effect, because I like my web to look like it's going down into the cookie, like that kind of curve. But when you do it this way, you see you end up with more petal look. So what I'm going to do now is come back to the very edge, as close as I can get, and leave a black edge on the cookie. And I'm piping on top and doing my final spider web points. Can you see what I'm doing there? So every place there's a point, I'm actually bringing that web. You see? And I'm going to connect this right here. We're going to come back and do our cross pieces too. All right, this icing is just so good tonight. So getting into the points allows me to come to the edge of the cookie. You can straighten these up, make them pointier, a little thinner at the edges if you want to by using your scribe. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But I'm just going the edges of the cookie right now. And I've got enough of the gray or the very dark gray. And plus, you guys, when this gray dries, it's going to look darker. So I've got a nice line around the whole outside edge. And you see? Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect this part in. And you have to work fast, because what this is doing is sinking down in. And if you want, you can go ahead and pipe all the way across this. Following your lines. You can have a raised area if you want to. I'm going to do it because I started on one and I want my cookie to look right. This is not what I would do for an order of store cookies though. And the reason that I do it this way is because I really like how the web part looks. Now, if you want to reverse it and pull from the center out, that's going to give you a totally different look. You can certainly do that too. This is just the way I like to do it because I like how it looks. And because I started those cross marks on top, it's giving me a little raised detail because this is actually setting up super fast. This is setting up much faster than it normally does. So this is actually giving us another level of detail on the cookie. And I hope that I have now not added too much icing that I can't add my spider. But that's the look of the spider webs that I really like. Okay. Now, if you work the other direction and pull center out, you're going to get points flowing that way. You can do that too. Okay. So lots of ways to do this. This is just how we're playing with it tonight. Let me slide this off to the side. Now let's get on the creepy spider. This is where you should jump off if you absolutely don't want to see how to make this creepy black spider. He's not hard. For sculpting purposes, if you can overlook the fact that it's a spider and just hang with me, he's really quick and he's actually a lot of fun. Just don't make it the last thing you look at before you go to bed tonight, Jen, and you'll be okay probably, huh? All right, so let's get some of this out of the way. All right, now we don't need this much fondant. It's just how much I had made up from something else I was working on. So I had told you to have enough made that's about the size of your thumb. So let me show you when I'm telling you that. Smelling salts already. So this is what when I was saying have enough already made up to about the size of your thumb. This is really what you need. And the reason that I said that amount is because I want a big spider on my cookie. You can make little spiders. You can use those little candy spiders, but I want a big spider on here. And I'm showing you how to do it in fondant because I think most of you are more comfortable right now working in fondant. But truly, most places, you're going to be able to use modeling chocolate by the time you make these cookies for Halloween because, you know, it's only the 14th of September. So I'm going to leave that up to you. These work just the same way in modeling chocolate. It just needs to be cooler. All right, so I have this set up to be about the size of my thumb. Now let's just take off the top digit. Okay, we'll just cut off 1/3. We want a big body. So let's give him a big body. Sally. Now, what I find that I like to do with this is I like to shape the body so it's a little bit elongated. This will actually make 2 spiders. If you just follow along with me, you'll see what's happening. So we made an oval because that's the easiest way to work it in your hand. And I'm just kind of shaping it. I don't want a bunch of cracks, although it's not going to matter once we start this. So I want to do 2 things. I want to cut a blunt edge here where this is going to join the head. You see that? Now watch, so easy. Sharp scissors, just cut it right in half. Okay? So you've got 2 bodies going. This is enough for 2 cookies, but it's just a lot easier to shape this way, and it keeps it lower profile on your cookie. Do you see what I mean? Okay, so we got 2 bodies going. We want to elongate that a little bit. Now, I am going to have to use one of my fondant tools because I want to do one of those really creepy spiders. I showed you these cherry jellies from earlier. So on one of them, I'm going to put in a cherry jelly. So I'm just going to take a little bit off on each side. I'm just making this into an oval. You can paint this once your fondant dries if you want to. I just wanted to have a little candy on this cookie. And these you can cut ahead of time too to have them ready. So what I'm going to do is, holding this above my spider, I'm just going to roughly make an area for this. Okay, and I'm using the Dresden tool for this. It's giving a little dimension. By cutting it, I made it sticky on the sides, and so it's going to stick in there literally, okay? So I'm just giving myself a little hollow in the body of the spider to drop this in. Okay, you see? And then I'm going to reattach that fondant in an oval shape. Is something wrong with my camera, you guys? Who's blowing up my phone right now? I can't tell if it's one of you or not. Hold on just a second. Let me just make sure that you can hear me. I'm not seeing any comments or anything. Are we okay? I think we're okay. Okay, so I'm just going to reshape the body now that I have the candy in. And you see that it's not like a glowing red, right? You just get that cool texture. And you can see that it's red in person, but it takes on the color because it's now got a solid color on it. It's not bright. Do you see what I mean? So this is a perfect candy. So always experiment with the candies. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little more off now that I've actually fit it to my candy. All right, I'm going to put the body down so you can see what I'm doing. I might have to lift it though, you guys. Okay, I'm going to use my scissors and we're going to do the same thing. I'm just basically nipping in different directions all along the spider, the body, before we put it on the cookie and before we attach the head, to make him look like one of those fuzzy, furry spiders, because it makes them a little creepier. Now, when this dries, this is fabulous if you want to highlight all of these areas with some, can you see that? Let me lift it so you can see what I just did. Let's give the camera a second to focus. That's just nipping it with the scissors. Okay, spider hair. Giving him a hairdo, Jen. So this is really cool to highlight. Depending on how black you got your fondant, you'd need a lighter shade to highlight all these ridges. But this one I did in a dark gray, so I'm going to be able to go back and use Turkish black and really make the spider hairs pop. You guys see what I'm doing? You see, this is easy. This is easy. Just takes a little practice. Now, if you find you're squishing areas and having to redo them, then just run a toothpick through it and work on the toothpick. But you can see we have a nice, hairy, creepy looking spider body, okay? I'm only going to do one for you, but you saw how we cut that so that you can make 2. Now, let's go ahead and go to the head. Let's get a circle on the head. Let's go ahead and cut our circle in half, right? Half of it's going to go up with this other body. And then we have this cool little head. Then remember I said I wanted to do the creepy red eyes. So I'm going to be using tweezers. I have some tweezers I use for sprinkles. All right, I'm going to use my Dresden tool and make 2 open areas for his eyes. Look, this is it. I'm telling you, it actually looks like a nose when you first do it. Then I'm going to grab these bigger beads, situate it, and push it down in there. And because it's a bigger bead and it's now under the lip of the fondant, by pushing it into the little hollowed out area you made, it's not going to come out. If you're really nervous about them popping out, they're not going to pop out. But if you're nervous about it, you could use edible glue to get them to stay seated. Okay. So these are showing up on camera red, and they show up red in the black, but these are actually hot pink beads because I didn't have any red beads. So you can see they read red. Let's trim just a little bit off the back of his head, so we're exposing fresh fondant. Can you see that? And we're going to tuck it up next to the body. And I'm going to use my Dresden tool, and I'm just kind of going to marry this together without squishing all the hair, okay? You can use edible glue if you're worried about this, or if you're working too slow and you need to use edible glue, that's fine too. But I want to shape his head a little bit. You see how I'm doing that? And then push it back in there so he has a raised part of his body, right? Now, same deal, scissors, rough him up a little bit so he's hairy. He can't have that smooth part on his head and that hairy body, right? So we just need to rough this up, make our sections marry, but we still needed him to look jointed, right? We don't want just one big log looking spider. He's got to look like he has a head and a, whatever they call that back area. Jen probably knows what it is. I do not know what its official name is. I just know it has one. All right, so now we've made him nice and creepy. I'm going to, where I touch my gloves here and that set up a little bit, I'm going to try to make some even smaller spider hairs here. The popcorn must have run out. The peanut gallery came back to sit at the door and watch me. There are no slackers, man. Whoever has the best snacks, that's where they are. Let's tuck his body in a little. Again, if you want to do a bat, do a bat. Try not to pick him up with your fingers after this point because you've spent all this time making him creepy. So see, we got his body. Now what we're going to do while our icing, you should do the fondant bits first. Now, while my icing is still wet though, I want to very carefully figure out how I want him on my cookie. Now, by the way, I would not do all of the cookies for an order like this. I would do 2 or 3 with the fancy creepy spider. And also, you guys, I really do think he would look better with teeny tiny red nonpareil eyes. I just didn't have any here. So this is bigger, more exaggerated. So you have to decide how you want him to look. But decide how you want him on your cookie. All right, I think I want mine like this. And while that icing is still wet, I want to scoot him off. Because he's in, whether he's in modeling chocolate or he's in fondant, he's already attached. I don't have to do anything else to him. Okay, and he's in the center. So let's make some legs. Legs are not hard either. We're going to give him 8 spider legs, and I'm just using that little piece we cut off. Legs don't have to be big. Now, this is something I like to do, though, with the legs because, look, I got cherry stuck to my hand. I like to use even sections. A lot of people have trouble when they work in fondant because they don't. I need a little bit more too. I'm gonna get a little bit more fondant. And I'm gonna put this in the bag so I don't ruin it because it's a nice fresh piece of fondant. Let me just put it in the Ziploc bag I keep it in because I have the air conditioner running in here. So you get into trouble when you're working in fondant and you need a bunch of stuff. Amy Deb asks, can you use, yes, it will work on modeling chocolate as long as it's cool enough. If you try to work on modeling chocolate and it's too hot or your hands are too hot, you're just going to have a big problem. But it definitely will work. I've done it. Thorax, Jen, thank you. So back to this. The thing people run into trouble with when they first start working in fondant is they try to make things separate and just off the top of their head repeat the pieces, when really what you need to do is, it's almost like measuring. I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to make 8 legs out of this. So instead of just making a leg and then pulling more and making a leg, we're actually going to roll this out. And we're going to go ahead and get 8 equal pieces. Did I miss any other questions, Jen? Because the comments like rolled up really quick there. Did I miss anything else? Okay, so now I've got this nice even area. I'm going to half it. Okay, I'm going to half it again. Now I've got 4 pieces, 4 equal size pieces. I'm going to half each of those, and that's going to give me my 8. Okay. And that way, as I make each leg, I don't use too much or too little, so he doesn't look weird. Does that make sense? So he's proportionate. So let's put that over here. We need to keep our tweezers out. You know I'm famous for losing things, so let's pull that over here. All right, let's get some of that out of the way. Now let's work on our legs. I am gonna have to take my gloves off at some point though, guys, because the gloves are too big for my hands and I'm worried they'll get in the icing. So now I'm just gonna roll these out in thin bits and try to get 4 of them the exact same length, okay? And can you see what I'm doing? I'm just using 2 fingers over the palm of my arched hand, and it makes that perfect little line for me, okay? You see? This is a very labor-intensive spider. If I had a 4-foot square, Jen, well, I will soon, and I hope to have everything laid out in acrylic organizers around me and get used to my routine of where everything is. Okay, so do you see what's happening because I measured ahead of time? Do you see how close these are in size? So I want 4 that I've rolled out a little longer because I want them to come up and down, and they're going to be near the body. Then the other 4 pieces, I don't need to, they can be thicker, but I don't want to roll them out as long because they're going to be near the face, and they're going to be near the, spiders have a booty. They're going to be near the booty. So I need 4 about like that, okay? Now, if you go to roll this and you feel like you just have too much fondant, then I'll show you how to fix that too, okay? If you want them thinner, because you just don't want that much on, let me show you this, okay? Let me get these nice thin pieces. I like my creepy spider. Because he's candy, he doesn't bother me. If this was a real spider in my house, we'd be burning it down. There's one of these, there'll be 100. I would not be living here until the whole house had been fumigated. I see the smiley faces going up because I know you know what I mean. All right, so now I'm going to take my thingamajiggy and I'm just going to lop some of this off. So I have 4 shorter sizes, but I want them all to match. So let's put these next to each other. So it's okay to get them thin like you want them and then lop them off on the end to make them match, okay? Because you can, with your hands, you can make the ends pointy again if you need to. So let's put these 4 together. Let's blunt cut them here where they're going to go up against the body. Just using a thingamajiggy for this. You can use a X-Acto knife, whatever you want. Doing the same thing here, okay? So now I've got my centers and my front legs. So let's go ahead and pose these a little bit. So on the front of a spider, and the best way to do this, guys, is actually look at a picture. But you want to pose them, the front of the body, get them ready as if they were attached to the body, but you can't do this on top of the wet icing. It's a little difficult. Now these I want to lay flat because I almost want them to look like pinchers. So I can do them right on the paper, right? I can do the 2 short ones for the booty. And I want to fold them the other direction. And you'll see this if you look at an actual picture. Now I need to do my 4 center, okay? But on my 4 center, I really want to make them raised. I want them to come up off the cookie, which is possible if you give it a little flat pinch here on this end. Can you see that? So you can tuck it under the body, and then you have to get up a little notch on this end. Do you see what that's going to end up looking like? Now, if you have time, you just lay these on their side, let them dry before you attach to the cookie, because look what it looks like if it's flat. So tomorrow you'll be able to see a good 3D picture of this, but I wanted to try to do my center ones raised. If it's too much for you, don't worry about it. If you want to pipe these legs instead of doing fondant, you can come back tomorrow when your whole thing is dry and you can pipe it. It's just this little bit of detail on 3 or 4 cookies is not going to kill you on your batch price of the cookies, and it's going to make your cookies super special. So now we're making that little foot. You see we made a little foot by bending it, and then we've got basically the knee and the thigh if it was on a person, right? But these are going to be upright on our little spider. He's going to be cute. Little flat part to tuck in underneath the body. Arch about 50% of the way in. Then another 50%, do another little bend to make the little seated foot area, okay? All right, I know these are not the technical terms for spiders, fully aware, but I don't know what they really are, and it's not a piece of information that I must have, okay? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to trim a little bit off here because I feel like those front legs need to just be a smidge shorter, okay? But I'm making a match. Then I'm going to use my tweezers, and I'm going to place these first. These are going flat. I'm going to place them first because they need to be where the segment is. And I want them to lay down in that icing, and I'm going to tuck it in there just a smidge. Same thing on the other side. Getting as close to the body. Let me do this so you can see it. It's on top of the icing, but the icing is still wet. I'm just barely touching that to the body so that it looks like it's attached. And then that allows me to give a little lift on the leg, okay? Now let's go ahead and do his back legs. I do think also my back legs, I'd like to, what did I just do with that? Make that just a little bit shorter. So I'm going to cut these off. The main thing is that you make these two match, okay? You see? I'm going to use my tweezers, and I'm going to set the back legs. Now this is important that you do the front legs first and then the back legs so that you don't run out of room on the cookie. Okay? If you're wondering why I'm doing that, because normally you guys know I work from the middle out, but on spiders, creepy crawly things, this works better for me. All right, let's get this one in there. So you see the back legs are turned backwards, front legs forward. Okay, now let's do our creepy crawly legs, okay? I'm just going to check these out again. Give that little foot. I'm going to trim this so it's a straight line. And I'm going to add that in right here because I want it to be a raised. Can you see that? Wait till I lift this and you see it. It's so cool looking. Again, I just want a very, very small tap there and a very small tap here so that it keeps that lift in the leg, okay? Checking over here. I had to take my gloves off for this part, you guys, because my gloves are too big. If I had my very tight or skin tight gloves here, I would have just used those and left them on. But I'm not too worried about this dyeing my hands, and no one is eating this cookie. But the dye has been in this fondant since noon, whatever time we broadcast this morning, right after that when I did my prep work for tonight. So it's really not going to bleed onto my hands that much. All right, now you see what I'm doing, right? I'm just visually looking at the amount of room and the proportion, oops, of the spider. Please don't stick. Ah, good deal. I tell you all the time, I hate to get to the last two little details on a cookie and then the cookie get wrecked. So let's put that in, and then let's attach the little foot where we want it so it won't move. Wait till I show you this side profile so that you can actually, you can't really tell now, and I need to get them in place before the icing crusts too much more, but wait till I turn this sideways so you can see what we just did for our centerpiece cookie. Now, by the way, if you saw the video for what the cutters, when I showed you what the cutters were in your Halloween boxes, you know that you have either, I think it's either 6 or 7 inch spider web cutters. So you can only imagine, you are only going to be limited by your own imagination on what you can do with that size cookie cutter. Okay, hold on. Let me get this up. I'm going to lift it and turn it so you can see. You ready? Now, it may crack my icing, so if my icing is cracked tomorrow, that is just what I have to do to show you what this looks like, okay? I'm going to try to hold the weight of him. But do you see how we got raised legs? And it is moving. It's not cracking, but it's moving. Now, what I'm hoping, I will do some dry dusting on him tomorrow, but what I am hoping, let me see if I can give him a little scoot and get that icing. Okay, good. Whew. It worked. Now I want to give him a little more texture. What I'm hoping is that all of this white that I made with tonic water, which has the quinine in it, I'm hoping that this spider web is going to glow under black light. So we'll see in a little bit, okay? I'm also testing this because the base of the Fall Days cookie made on this same cutter. So you see, learning about cutter flips is important because that's the same cutter and those are very, very different cookies, right? So the base of this also has the quinine in it. So I'm interested to see if the yellow will glow at all. So I will report back tonight and I'll try to take a picture under the black light. I found a setting on my phone that I think I'm going to be able to do that. Now, I realize spiders are not everybody's thing. So if you don't want to do a spider, don't do a spider at all. Just do a spider web. That's fine. That's a quick, finished, easy cookie for your sets. If you want to do the spider, I would recommend you go with the smaller eyeballs or paint the eyes on. But super spooky cookie to go with our Fright Night cookie. And I don't know where I put my skeleton moon cookie. He's somewhere safe because I wanted to take a photograph of all of them together at the end. But you definitely could do that. This is it, Jen. That's all I'm getting on this cookie. So we've got these areas. Oh, do you want something up here? Does he have, you want me to put something on the mouth? Is that what you're telling me you want me to do? I wasn't going to put anything else up there. I can because I have plenty of little bits over here. Is that what you want me to do? You want me to put something up here? Just put some of the little pointy bits that I cut off and make his pinchers. I was going to let it be done. He needs evil jaws because I don't want them to get freaked out and think they can't do this cookie because there's so many pieces, but he does look cute with these on there. Let's do that. But now he looks a little too real for me, so now I have to make some more sunflowers before I go to sleep, or I'll be dreaming about spiders. All right, how's that? It's good? Let me lift him up for you and let him take a look at him. So we've talked about a lot of different ways that you can actually create this cookie, okay? God, he's creepy looking. I don't like him. Yeah, the fangs. He's way too creepy looking for me now. I shouldn't have put the fangs on. If I'm up at 1 in the morning, somebody join me. If I can't sleep, I'll just come in here and do some more work, and someone should jump on with me. All right. So I will do the black light test later. It's 8:19. So thank you, Deborah. So around 9, I'll come in and check out whether that white glows. And I'm not just looking to see if it glows under black light, because most white icing will glow under black light. I'm looking to see if using the tonic water as the water in my icing mix increases it enough to make it worth it to use this instead of regular water, both in making the icing and in thinning the icing. Okay, so I'm going to be looking to see if it is substantially brighter under black light than regular white icing would be, because you know white glows under black light anyway. I'm looking to see if it is substantially different to make it worth it to make it with this. Okay, which gray did I use? I actually used, I'll show you exactly, I have it right here. This is what blew up on my hand when I opened it, because my other bottle. Don't buy this if you're buying the Halloween kit, because you're getting this in your Halloween kits. This is super black. It's the Hobby Lobby Sunny Side Up bakery brand. And then I just went to a dark gray, because I think if someone actually ate that cookie, it's not, it looks like Spiderweb. It's clearly a black-white situation to create the Spiderweb. And I think I have one extra cookie left. So I'm going to go, I'm going to go back and I'm going to make one of these cookies and reverse the white and black. So when I photograph it tomorrow, you can see what I mean about flooding in white and doing the web in black, just so you can see what that looks like. It's easier for me to do it since I have everything up and ready to go than for you guys. Then you can decide how you want to recreate the cookies. Also, again, Sally, thank you for this. All right, so we're going to end tonight's video. Let me show both these cookies again really quick. Let's show all 3 of them. And that way I can pick this for the still frame thumbnail. So let's show the 3 that we did tonight using the same cutter. And then I need the people that were in the mermaid class to just go straight over to the mermaid group. I'm going to go live in there and announce the winners from that contest. So these are the 3 we did tonight. And guys, these are already very crusted. They're crusted already. I probably, if I wanted to, I could probably paint tonight, but I'll let them sit just to be safe, because I want to do dry dusting, which involves getting in the crevices, and I don't want to make any of it collapse. Okay. All right, so I definitely like these much better, but this is for my Halloween Fright Night people to get you going, okay? Now, the other thing I wanted to tell you, if you have the patience for it, this cookie, actually, do I have one right? No, I don't have one in front of me. I have to go down in the cookie bin to get one. If you want to put your black on there and then make your white, go ahead and match the outside edges of your cookie and draw from the outside to the inside. It's going to give you that curved look as if you stenciled it. Also, keep this in mind. You need to practice this ahead of time. If you want to use airbrushing or stencil swiping on your cookie, then practice the color done with the black as the base and the white as the net, which works great if you want to stencil swipe, if you have a spider web and you want to stencil swipe, or if you want to reverse the colors. You need to check that out, because most spider web stencils, and if you don't have one and you're buying the Halloween box, then don't buy one. That's one of the last couple items we're waiting on to arrive, is a really cool, it's not a typical Halloween spider web, but it's real cool. So anyway, when you're stenciling those, the part that the stencil usually blocks out is the white. So normally you would, or the web rather, the web area. So normally you would flood your whole cookie in white, let it dry, put your stencil down, and then you'd swipe over it in a black or a dark gray, and it would fill in those inner areas. So when you lift it up, you've got a web, okay? So that's one way to do it too, if you prefer to do that. Or if you want to airbrush, you would be airbrushing black ink on top of white, okay? All right, so that's it for tonight. If you took the mermaid class, please watch for a live to come up. I'm literally going to end this and pop right over there, and we're going to announce the winners, and you definitely want to know who the winners are. And what did the winners win? The winners won free virtual class, not free kits, free virtual class to the Halloween class, okay? So I will see you over there in just a few minutes. Thank you for being with me tonight. You guys have a great evening.